Good morning. I am Steve Weber, and I'm the host of the American Gumption Morning Show. And we're broadcasting on Spirituality Gone Wild and also on the American Gumption Facebook page and the American Gumption YouTube channel. So welcome to the last day of November 30th, 2020. And almost the end of the year for us. We entered the last month of 2020, and I think everybody will be grateful that this year we survived and will come to an end. And in just another month from now, we'll start 2020, and we'll begin all over again, a new year. And so what a strange or unusual year this has certainly been. All righty. Well, so anyway, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving weekend here in the United States. And I say that because we're going to go over to Europe today, and our guest will be coming to us from Switzerland. And so today it's more like global gumption rather than American gumption, but that's okay. Happy to have our guest, Brigitte Kornetzky, joining us in just about 10 minutes from now. And then I've got a little bit of a monologue I'll do. But before I do that, let me go ahead and tell you about what's coming up the rest of this week. Alrighty, so this week, interestingly, is really going to end up being a lot about spirituality gone wild. On 3 of the next 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I have guests who all have their own show here on the Spirituality Gone Wild channel. And they're all people that have not appeared on the American Gumption show before. So I'm excited to welcome all 3 of those people. So tomorrow, David Strickle, the Stream of David. And David is a gentleman who channels spirits, and he calls it the Stream. And he also has a Taya boot camp, which is really his way of helping people elevate their consciousness and to manifest what they want. It's really kind of a law of attraction, similar to what Abraham Hicks does, but it's really David's version. So we're going to talk to him about that. That'll be on tomorrow's show. On Wednesday, Joseph Labruto, America's Most Beloved Medium. And now, a little different than channeling, Joseph is a medium, and he actually ends up, his show is on Wednesday nights, and he's all about connecting the two sides, the non-physical with the physical. And so people who in the physical have lost their loved ones and have departed, he ends up using his powers to connect. And he has been documented to be right like 90% of the time. So it'll be a fascinating conversation on Wednesday. And so whether you believe or don't, tune in and you can judge for yourself. And then on Friday, Joan of Angels. And Joan is Joan Joan Handgarten, and and Joan's brand new to the channel, and I think tonight is her first show actually at 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. on the West Coast. She is broadcasting from the West Coast, so she does her show at 7 p.m. on the Spirituality Gone Wild channel. So that'll be tonight, and then on Friday morning she'll come and join us, and we'll discuss the work that she's doing. All righty, and then Thursday I'll be to be announced. I don't have a guest at this point, so we'll figure something out to do then. So anyway, now today's guest is going to join us, I said, in about 8 or 9 minutes from now, but I just have a little bit of a monologue I want to do, and I'm going to talk about wildlife conservation and just sort of share my views, what I'm thinking about it, because my views are really evolving and growing as I become more aware. So, if you look back years ago, I thought, I remember, thinking that the environmental movement was maybe a bit overblown and a lot of people crying wolf. And I didn't realize, necessarily what was going on. But certainly, if you start at the foundation of air and water, we all want clean air, we all want clean water. So environmentalism kind of starts with that, the planet, the earth. And so what's more elemental than air and water? And so we, of course, I believe we all want to have that. However, over the years, there were people who, businesses and corporations and just people in survival mode, living by the side of the rivers, washing and cleaning themselves. And so the need to take care of our rivers and our air, and especially in the last 50 to 100 years, as the industrial revolutions kind of came in, and we suddenly had abilities to mass produce things, and then we had plants and factories that were emitting all kinds of pollutants out into the air and of course, and into the water. I mean, it used to be commonplace here in the United States that businesses were, set up on the sides of rivers because it was a shipping place, and they just would put their waste right into the water. And of course, then we realized that was not a good thing. And if you look at the last 50 years in the United States, it's been a pretty remarkable turnaround in terms of, the rivers have gotten cleaner, and because of need for environmental laws and practices, air has gotten cleaner. And so we've done a pretty good job. Now, that can't be said for the rest of the world. And people around the world are working to improve that and make that different. Now, let's shift gears a little bit and get very specific about wildlife. We all, so back up and just say that spirituality gone wild. In the last few weeks, I've been attempting to define what it means to be spiritual for me. And for me, I'm just saying, hey, it's all about the human experience. Here I am inside this body and living on this earth, and I want to have a good experience. And most other humans want to improve their own joy and love and experience on earth. And so now if we think about, if we add the animals to the equation, I think we're at a point in our time when we're asking, do we want to have, do certain animals, and is it like all animals, do they enhance our experience, the human experience, or do they take away from it? Well, certainly if you're living in a cave and a saber-toothed tiger comes in and attacks you, well, then you want to survive yourself. You don't want to, have the experience of that. But we've kind of evolved in the way we live. And so we don't have to worry so much about the saber-toothed tiger attacking us in a cave. We all live in houses primarily. We have, electricity. We have internet. The world, not a 100, of course, not, certainly in the United States and in the developed part of Europe, that's very commonplace. But then there's many places where, electricity is probably not in every home. And so, but things are changing and evolving and growing. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are we want to do? What do we want to do to save these animals? Now, back on show number 25, today is show 80, by the way. Back at show 25, I was joined by, let's see, where am I at here? I had Earl Pova join us, and he shared the story of Lolita. Lolita is the orca, otherwise known as a killer whale, but the orca was captured 50 years ago this past summer and put into captivity at the Miami Seaquarium. And has lived at its age 6 or 7 years old. Lolita ended up going and being put into this aquarium and has lived 50 years. The last 50 years, so 57 years old now, in this basically a big giant bathtub or its little cage, and it's performed 3 shows a day over the course of those 50 years. And of course, the Seaquarium looks at it and says, this is entertainment, this is education. People get to come and see an experience and see a killer or an orca, a killer whale, which you wouldn't normally get to see. And so anyway, this has kind of been part of our society and culture of these last many years. But as Earl came on and talked about and shared the story, there's a big movement, Sea Shepherd being one of the larger organizations that is saying, hey, this is not right. We can't have these animals, these fish, these mammals in the aquarium on display, living in little tiny, these things, these orcas swim up to, I don't know, 75 miles a day or something when they're out in the ocean. And here all Lolita can do is just kind of do little laps back and forth, barely enough room to even turn around and go a few feet and turn around and go back the other way. And so anyway, we're changing our opinions and our belief about what is appropriate and what is necessary in the world. And so, and the way I ended up getting familiar with Earl and then with the orca story is because of a project I had done several years earlier, the 4 lower Snake River dams. So on the Snake River runs from Idaho into the Columbia River in the state of Washington and then out into the ocean. And on the lower Snake River Dam, the last 200 miles of the river before it empties into the Columbia, they dammed it up, put 4 major dams along there and turned what used to be a rapidly flowing river into like 200 miles worth of lake. And what happened with that is the salmon that had lived there for thousands of years suddenly could not get downstream. And so the number of returning adult salmon upstream, started diminishing, and not just started to diminish, like when the dams went in, boop, big drop in terms of populations of it. And so for the last almost 50 years, the population of the salmon has just been diminishing. And then they go about building all kinds of contraptions like ramps for fish to swim back upstream, and then things to help the juvenile salmon get downstream. And so there's all this money being spent year after year after year to accommodate the salmon, but the population is just basically holding steady at a minimal number at this point, and it's nowhere near the amount that was before. Well, the reason why this is important is because the orcas out of the ocean ended up eating the Chinook salmon as their primary food, and so now the orca population in Puget Sound is, kind of diminishing, just barely holding steady, but not flourishing because their main food source is not available. So the point of all this is that human activity comes in and changes things. And, you wouldn't think that putting a dam on a river has that much of an effect because, hey, we're generating power from that dam being there, and power is a good thing because it lights up our house, and okay, great. But then we realize that the salmon no longer can live there in the river. They no longer can get downstream as juveniles to get back upstream as adults, and so the populations plummet. And so what was once a very thriving area for salmon is now, they're just a fraction of what they used to be, and not that long ago, right? Just a couple generations ago, 50, 100 years ago, lots of salmon, now hardly any salmon. So these choices that we make are affecting, in this case, the wildlife, the salmon, and then the unintended consequences, the orcas end up suffering. So all around the world, all around the planet, there's all these choices that man is making or human is making, and it's ended up having an impact on the wildlife. So that's so do we want to live in a world where that's common and normal place, and that in a world where in another 50 years from now we won't have any more salmon and we won't have any more orcas swimming in the ocean, and of course, now we're going to shift gears. We're going to invite our guests to come in and join us and talk about the elephants of India specifically, because the same types of things that happened with the rivers and damming up the rivers and reducing the salmon, and then, of course, the orcas not having a food supply and this like chain reaction. Well, there's much of activity, human activity going on in India, 1 billion people. Of course, it's a big continent. It's a huge place. And yet elephants that, lived and roamed freely, their space is infringed upon, and human activity is changing the way that they live, and their populations are diminishing. So that's really all I wanted to talk about today. How do we coexist? How do we on the planet decide that we can coexist with animals, creatures that have been here for a long time? From a human experience, is it better for us to have these creatures that we can enjoy or coexist with, or is it better for us to just continue to make the choices that we've been making and have them not be part of our lives anymore? That's really what the question comes down to. And I think most people say, oh no, we want to protect them. But then of course, how do you go about protecting them? How do you manage that? And what is the best way to do that? And that there's no simple, easy answers, but we're going to invite our guest onto the show, and we're going to let her tell us about the activities she's been involved with for the last 10 years or so to help these animals. So I think that's it. I think the human experience is better when we can coexist with salmon and orcas and elephants and other animals that we enjoy having here. So, alrighty, let's. I see Brigitte is in the green room. Let's bring her live onto the show and welcome her. Hello, Brigitte Kornetzky.
Hi, Steve. Hi, everybody.
You're coming to us from Switzerland today.
From almost a cold winter afternoon, yes. Yeah.
Yes, 6 hours ahead. I'm here on the East Coast, and you're in the. Are you in the mountains? Are you in the Alps?
I'm in the mountains. You can see the fire right there.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, good. You are keeping yourself warm, and you're in your study there where you do all this work. But I know you do work around the country. Let me do this, Brigitte. Before we get into the conversation, I'd like to just read a little bit of a bio that I've prepared that let people know who you are and some of the work that you've been doing. And then I have a song that I play for guests who are the first time guest on the American Gumption show. So if you ever come back, we won't play the song a second time. We only play it one time. So I will read your bio and play the song if that's okay.
Sure. Yes.
All righty. So who is Brigitte Kornetzky? Brigitte is a director, producer, filmmaker, and writer. She is also the Swiss ambassador for Fiapo. And Fiapo, I'm going to put up a little banner here. Fiapo, F-I-A-P-O, Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organization. Essentially, Fiapo is an animal rights movement in India that's doing a lot of good work. So worldwide, now this is an important fact, worldwide, Fiapo is the largest umbrella organization for wildlife conservation, animal protection, and environmental issues, and represents more than 50 member organizations throughout India. So there's all these other little tiny organizations, but then Fiapo is kind of the umbrella and the master organization for all of them, if I understand that correctly. As the Swiss ambassador to this organization, Brigitte's quest is to free the Indian elephants from captivity, rehabilitate them to their natural environments, and remove their chains. Before becoming involved specifically with the elephant movement in 2011, Brigitte was born in Germany and has lived in Switzerland since 1998. She studied fine arts, art history, photography, and philosophy at the University of Kassel, and also studied classical singing in both Kassel and at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. So you are a trained opera singer. Very good. We won't ask you to sing today, but maybe if you come back a second time, we'll have you do that for us. So Brigitte is both a singer and an independent documentary writer committed to human rights and the environment. She is passionate about elephant protection, and her last documentary, Where the Elephant Sleeps, was released in India in 2016. So Brigitte Kornetzky, please welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Good. I'm going to go ahead and play this welcoming song that I teased about, and then we'll get into our conversation. Have you ever had a marching band welcome you to a broadcast before?
No, for sure not.
All right. Well, good. Well, that's part of the.
Sure not. No.
We at American Gumption Morning Show, we'd like to have a little bit of fun with serious topics, because if we can't have fun, then of course, what's the use of doing it? And I do want to say that when I launched this project almost 1 year ago, I really was. I almost changed my mind at the last minute and said it really needs to be global gumption because it's bigger than just American gumption. But because I was based here in the United States and I planned to travel and live here, I stuck with my original instinct to name it American gumption. But truly, what we're talking about today is a global issue. So thank you for doing the work you're doing. My goodness, you are minding your own business, living in Switzerland. And somehow back in 2011, and it must have started even a little before that, but you became aware of the elephants of India, and you have dedicated the last decade to that work. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's like what shall I say? I did not select the topic. It selected me basically. So otherwise, you won't be able to do it for that long. I'm pretty sure. So if you feel that you have to do it because something from somewhere in the ether in the universe tells you that you are the one, then I don't know if it's a good idea to continue or to follow, but I did, and I'm still here. So yes.
Yeah.
So the last 10 years are in my life are just elephants round the clock, and conservation and everything which is related to it. Of course, conservational issues and the entire biodiversity as well. So yeah, I'll do. Unfortunately, I cannot live in India or for a longer time than like 90 days out of 3 months, and that brings a limitation to it, so that I there do lots of network fencing if necessary. I do research, all that stuff, mitigational plans, but then I have to come back out here, and from here in Switzerland, it's everything is quite the same, but still different for me. So, but this keeps going since 10 years now. Yes, it's true.
What were you doing like from like 2000 to to 2010? What were you doing the 10 years prior to that you must have been involved with the environment in some way or another before you got to the elephant? But tell us a little bit about your past and how you ended up getting to where you were 10 years ago.
Well, backwards, I basically come from human rights films that I made in Africa and in Sierra Leone. I did a major film on Charles Taylor, war crimes, and another one on the effects of it, like from blind school children. So in that film, everybody is blind. And I switched, to animal rights fluently, because I've realized and I hope that I will not realize come to the same conclusion at the end. Maybe there's no end to it, but I've realized that, quite frankly, governments are not really interested in people. And in the Western world, it might be a little different, but we have too many dictators, we have too many oligarchs and corrupt people in the leadership, so that however can you address a human rights issue to them? Yeah, I have sent that film to name it everywhere, anywhere. Even to the High Court, to the Special Court in Sierra Leone, to the Special Court in The Hague, in everywhere. There was not. I mean, the Pope responded to me. Frankly, the Pope said, "You are amazing, and I wish that your film will continue to bring the peace to the world and this and that." So that comes from the Pope, but that was it, basically. The film I managed to step on every red carpet on film festivals, but the film festival is not very satisfying, frankly, if it comes to serious violations in human rights. And I just couldn't handle anymore. So I've done my part there. So now I'm on, and I wanted to shoot another film, actually, already on wildlife in Africa, in Botswana, on a ranger, and that did not happen for several reasons. So I went straight to India, where I wanted to go since I was a small child. And yeah, so you guys in India, you got me. Yeah, that's how it is.
Fiapo obviously is an organization that cares about the animals and human rights, and so they've embraced you, and you've been the ambassador from Switzerland, to the organization. But what is it like when you go there? Is there like a welcoming you to make these films, or is there like people who don't want you to make these films, or is it a combination of both?
Well, no, India, no, they very welcome me. It's absolutely amazing. People are happy that, and I'm not the only one. So, but I'm so far one of the very, 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 very few which come from abroad and have quite a reputation in India, meanwhile, due to the fact what they care of, what I care of. And making a film there is well, you have to do the normal things, like you have to ask for permissions in case you want to go into reserved forest and stuff. But that's not so much my topic. My topic is more at the rim, where elephants meet humans and humans meet the elephants. So that is normally outside the protected areas where you need to have permissions, and this is a longer step to go through that bureaucracy. But in that respect, no, it's very welcome, actually. I have to say, yes.
Yeah, from your website, I learned that there's about 3,500 to 4,000 elephants today living in India. Does that sound like about the right number? So 3,000.
How many did you say?
3,500 to 4,000.
No, these are the captive ones.
Okay.
I'm not so 100. Don't fix me on numbers. I don't believe in numbers, and that is a different story with me and numbers. But roughly around 2,800 and 3,400, 200, 400 something. These are the captive elephants.
Right, and that is your specialty, is the captive elephants. That's what you care about.
Both.
Okay.
Wild ones as well, and wild ones we have some 28,000 plus.
Okay, so there are forest elephants, and so they have these big areas that I guess they're the wildlife ones, the forest elephants. Do they have major problems, or are they living relatively peaceful lives at this point?
Yeah, some do, some don't. Most of them, it's increasing numbers that forest is degrading and shrinking, and actually fragmentation is a huge issue because of people's encroachment into the forests, and that causes the trouble and that causes the problem for both sides. But more so, I feel for the elephants, because an elephant has a different gumption than a human does. It has its pre it has its roots, basically, where it goes. It needs its food chain to be supplied and not to be cut down. Mining and stone quarrying is a big topic. So all this contributes to the fact that elephants leave their territories, leave their forests. And of course, I mean, if I would give you a gourmet food at the other side of the forest, then you would go there, and you would go there again because it tasted so good. So they go in the crop fields, and they have to cross the tea plantation of the farmers, and that causes lots of trouble.
The farmers obviously don't want them stampeding through their tea forest, and so they chase them away, or worse. And
that is one thing. Of course, nobody wants that. But if they would not want it, that would be a different setup. What happens is that I'm talking about Assam now. I'm sure it's an 80% number of young people who just do the hatikal, which is it's a kind of elephant sport. They chase them, and the elephants, you will see that in my film. They turn around, wave the tail up, and that means watch out, and they chase the people back, and this goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So it's not a good situation for the herds, because they get basically they get really seriously affected in their behavioral minds, spirits, etc. They get affected in their privacy. They get affected in their food chain. They get completely disturbed. They get split into small groups, which in a way, scientifically spoken, might even be an intelligent thing, because then they cannot be controlled that easily. But it provides another problem, because once they get split, they do not cross on the provided corridors, or they cross nearby, this and that. So the whole thing is just a mess, so to say. It's not a good situation.
Brigitte, we have some people checking in all the way from
yes.
India. We have Amit, who sends much love from India. Maybe he is
Yeah.
a friend of yours.
Yeah, great. We know each other. He's a wonderful fellow. Yeah. Hey, Amy.
And Vicky says hello also.
Great. Oh my God.
And Omidi, we wanted to say the fantastic work that you do. And Denise just says this is terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bettina is a friend of mine from Seattle, Washington, who is a fan of the show and always has something positive to say each day. And also Subhash says, "Love only love." Of course, that is the answer. Love only.
Very
love.
true. That was my article. I'm just coming to that soon. Yeah.
Good.
Nice. Yeah.
So I also have a few pictures that I took from your website, and I'd like to just sort of, maybe we could just share them, and you could just tell us a little tiny bit about some of these pictures that we're seeing. This first one, it looks like an elephant is down. What is going on here in the forest?
Oh, that is in Kerala, and these are tuskers, as you can see. They are, the guy is a mahout, so he just told the elephant to lay down because he wanted to fix the chain, and the chain is very narrowly fixed, so you can see my the hands, the front feet are maybe in that distance, but quite often in that distance. So then they start hopping. When they release them, they release these especially these two here. They're more than that, on a long chain into the forest, so that they can follow the elephant where it goes. But the elephant is intelligent enough, so he does 1, 2, hop, 1, 2, hop. So that is cruel. It's like, I make you walk, but I basically tie up your feet. So how is that? Yeah.
Yeah. And here's this next picture really shows those chains that are put on their feet. Yeah. And then here's an elephant laying down, of course, with the chain.
Yeah. You can see on the left side of the picture, on the toe nail is right there. Yes, that's a big hole. So that is the misery that we have in Elephant Village in Hajigang in Jaipur, where I shot the film in 2011, and most of the elephants have. The main problem starts there, that the mahouts do not understand their animal in terms of movement, motion, proper food, foot care, and foot care again, and not going out through the hot torching sun, or on hot asphalt roads, or etc., the whole thing. So what you see here is like cracked soles, cracked feet, and they have to walk with that. This elephant, I think it was, I don't get the name right now, but she died as well. When I did the filming, 6 elephants died, and one I had to put to sleep. That was the very first elephant in entire India who had been put to sleep human hand. It was not me in person, but I just spearheaded the thing. So a veterinarian did that, but it needed permission from the government. So long stories. So basically, back to that foot treatment thing. In later years, just recently, last year, I had an agreement with the forest department in Jaipur to conduct foot treatment for 103 elephants. And after a long back and forth, stretching out over 1 year, Forest Department said, yes, okay, we do it. And we also do the 3 days, it was kind of a conference with elephant VIPs, entire India, that I wanted to invite, and to have an additional congress on these issues and on this matter. And once I came to India, silent from this department. So they did not cooperate. They did not. It came out that I had to push through the Ministry of Environment and Forest to receive the basically the denial, if you want so, and they just to have a legal handling in my hands. What can be done next, and then. So basically, what should have happened did not happen, because these elephants are desperately in need of getting their feet done, because these toenails, they crack. I don't want to get into explanations now. You can ask me, of course, per email. I will help everyone who doesn't understand the matter, but it goes too much in the detail if I go there now. So these feet crack, and all the dirt travels in, and once it hits the bone marrow, they die.
Yeah, become infected essentially.
Well, they have tuberculosis, and they go with tourists on top of their backs. 10 of these elephants. Oh my God. As of 2016, the film was released. And after that, the Animal Welfare Board of India has conducted a survey. They have came out with 99 pages medical document of the treatment of the elephants, and what should have been done and is not done. And all the elephants in Jaipur, Hajigang, were diagnosed unfit to walk. up with tourists, and 10 out of 50 elephants they have diagnosed with tuberculosis. And of course told them to get them treated and out of the traffic, etc., etc. Nothing had happened. They had continued as usual. And 4 years later, in 2020, when I should have had that foot treatment thing in the elephant Hatigang village in Hatigang, and which did not take place, I have sent my 2 doctors to Amerford, and they have found 9 out of these 10 elephants going up Amerford with tuberculosis and having tourists on top.
Yeah. There's a picture we're showing now of the tourist, and right. They have the little like seats that they sit up on top of. And of course, the elephants have a colorful drape that's put over. So, I mean, it makes like a very nice tourist photograph, and people can feel like they're enjoying it. And yet this is obviously unhealthy for the animals. And it really comes down to what I talked a little bit about I talked about primarily in my monologue, is that, you know, decisions that we made 50 years ago. Now, this was like a good idea, maybe, to have tourists come to India and to take, but then after years and years and years of doing this, and animals, the elephants not being cared for properly, I mean, they're basically going to be wiped out if this practice continues. So there's not going to be any ability to take tourists because these elephants won't be alive any longer.
Yes.
So obviously, I guess the point I'd like to make on this whole thing is that, you know, we made decisions years ago, and it's time to make new decisions and new choices about it. And because of human nature and inertia, it's very difficult to change things. Here are the people who are working in this industry, and this is their livelihood, and yet they're not going to have a livelihood for much longer anyway, when all the elephants are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you communicate that? How do you, and I can feel the frustration in your words, that you make these films, and yet, you know, nothing really seems to happen. You said that the Pope responded, but essentially said, I wish you good luck. I pray that it happens. So anyway, you are doing God's work, attempting to do this, and yet it's a difficult battle that you have. You talked about the organization that from a distance sounded very cooperative, and then of course you got there and there was no action that was able to follow up and for the treatment of these things. So what keeps you going? And I guess it comes, maybe it's back to that love only love quote that our one guest Subhash said, love only love.
Yeah, it's a love quote. That's very true. It's a love quote. I mean, what keeps me going? I don't know. I just cannot really say that. It's a love quote. Yes, that says it all.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, we appreciate that you are doing what you're doing, because I in my monologue I mentioned I have friends who from the sea, the orcas and the salmon have dedicated their one man 30 years of his life has been dedicated to the salmon and to these dams on the Lower Snake River, and other friends from around the world are with the orcas. And I did read that India is one of the very first countries to ban these seaquariums for these large mammal fish. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a victory for you and your organization. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not from my organization, but India actually in its in the outline of the law is quite spearheading. They're not behind anything. They're just they're of course they're lacking sometimes things and because it's a very, very difficult and complex matter. But from the legal perspective, we try to, of course, update the court on the real situation, but of course others have their advocates as well, and they are sometimes more powerful, and they are sometimes more have the I don't know, the better funds, even if you want to. It's a long process to implement a new thing. I tried actually. When was it? After, I think somewhere 2018, tried to change the table with the elephant owners, and we have in Hindi language actually provided them a complete plan to switch and give up these animal violations and to switch to something more serious. And that is very easy to do. You just need some electric rickshaws, paint them as an elephant, and bring up the tourists over there and up there, I mean on Amerford, and there you can pose. But everything is doable. It's just, but they're so stubborn, they're so arrogant, they're so that I have just no mercy whatsoever anymore. I don't care about this, because they lie through the roof. They false the certificates of the elephants. They steal them from the wild. They underneath the table, they pay false ownerships, etc., etc. The list is endless, and it's just not tolerable anymore. And of course, these things do not go to the court like they come in. They come in like this, but they go out the other way. We have a very once in a century court order in Islamabad right now, which is fantastic, because Kavan, after, don't put me on the net, I think it was 30 years in captivity in the zoo, in isolation, in how is that called? Yeah, in isolation. He goes basically back now to some elephant colleagues, and tries to live a normal, at least captive elephant's life. Yeah, but this is just an absolutely exception, once in a century, as I said. Yeah. So that's what we're missing in India. We are missing serious. I mean, we have come up with a white paper, and representative organizations which care about welfare and the rights and the protection of the animals in India have all get together, like Fiapo, like PETA, like me, like WRC, like others, name it, and put on one table. But the stories, after a huge push again, then it comes back down to where are we? That question. Yeah.
And you're a single person, meaning you're out there sometimes feeling like you're just battling this by yourself. And of course, there's other people involved, but it doesn't feel like a very large number. It feels like you're.
I have to say, we battle all together, and I'm very, very grateful to all the nameless people behind us on the internet and on Facebook and Twitter. I can't even surf anymore because my workload is too high. Who set up all these petitions, and without these petitions, sometimes I feel they're useless, but 99% I feel no, that is a big support, and it's really, really, really helpful. So we have all the support from the people who are against these violations. So what else can we do? I mean, except there's some always in the front who do the main thing and the core, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sonia, for example, was an elephant which was killed by eating a fruit laced with explosives. How can you finally? It's like, imagine you have a wonderful sip of tea after being so thirsty for a week, so maybe it's your first cup of chai at all, and you drink it and your mouth explodes.
Yeah.
You know the Soumya story, no? I mean, she went to calm down her injury in that trunk, which was so painful, after weeks, to a water source, and there she died standing up. Would she had lied down, it would not hit the media. have hit the media. No, she was dead standing up in the water. I mean, and that is not the first case. It's just hits the media because she was standing up. Had she been lied down, same thing like all the others.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what farmers do. They want to get rid of the how are these called, the wild boar from their land. What is a wild boar not valid to, you know, taken care of? The mouth can explode, but not from an elephant. It's almost no difference. I mean, there's just a difference in the species, but not a difference in the action, which is, yeah.
So how do we? And I'm going to ask this question, but I don't expect an answer. You know, how do we change the human consciousness to, you know, be aware that the human experience, we get to decide what it's going to be, and are we going to continue to are we just going to eliminate all of the animals from the planet, or are we going to figure out a way to coexist and allow them to, you know, live in some kind of a decent life? And of course, again, there's no answer other than individuals like yourself and the many people that are working with you to just continue to forge ahead and educate and raise the consciousness of the human race, where people say this is not acceptable any longer. We want a better way of living here on Earth.
Yes. You mentioned that in your speech before. Absolutely. I mean, how we tackle this is a big question. I don't know, and a lot of things, but a few things in my personal life is that I feel that we as humans, we have only one divine purpose on this planet, and that is to preserve it, to love it, and not to disturb it or destroy it. So that means we are just the instrument to get the music out from the violin that was given to us. If we misuse that tool, if we misuse that in a sense of like, we have to make money for that, we have to put out our ego for this, we have to, you know, make war with our neighbors, because I'm thinking about, I don't know, I don't want to mention this now, but so that is a matter of destruction. No matter, name it, it's destructive. We have only that divine purpose. What do you want to put into your grave beside your own bones?
Yeah.
Nothing, not much, but you can leave something for the next generations. And now I'm coming to a very good point that I have to mention. I tagged them, but they might not be able to, because they are always in the bush, actually maybe in the treehouse right now. This is my Hatibondo family in Assam, and they're doing an absolutely excellent job. I love these people. They are dedicated exactly what I just mentioned to the divine purpose of this planet, and actually to the elephants now. So what they're doing is they plant napier grass, they plant banana trees, cocoa palms, whatever elephants love to eat, on the rim of the forest, so that the elephants come out, they get fed there, not entering the crop field, to the tea plantation to enter the crop field. That is way too far. They don't go there anymore. That thing has proven, this project has proven since 3 years, it works perfectly fine. There's no damage on the crops from the farmers, because the farmers have planted at the rim of the forest for them. So they go eat there, and then they go back to the forest. That's it. And even the farmers say that they have 3 times more, up to 3 times more, the harvest of their crops than before, even than before. So, you know, that thing that, I don't know, that like we have going in around Golakot, where we're like, in a couple of days back, 100 herd headstrong elephant herd caused all this rumor. They constantly causing this rumor. It just hit the media again, and they were chased constantly by people. How can you have your animals in peace when the mob is sitting on their tail? It's not going to work. So Hati Bondo in Assam are doing a fantastic work, and I would everybody encourage to support these people because they are on location. They're doing the work. They're doing the research since years, and we want to set up a huge also rescue center for the captive elephants. Then, so also in the big hope that elephants from like Jaipur will come back to their homelands. That is a big dream that I'm painting right now, but we hope so that this will happen, so that they can join then this huge rescue center. It's a beautiful area. It has natural water sources there. It has forests there. Everything is there for. It's elephant heaven.
Brigitte, thank you for the work that you're doing. Your passion is very evident, and I hope that you will feel the love from myself and from others who appreciate the work you're doing, because you've committed your life. I remember at the very beginning you said you did not choose this project; it chose you. I understand because I've felt in my own life that the journey that I've been on, it wasn't necessarily one that I would have chosen. And I many times said, why is it that, and yet we get something into our head and we have to just go and fulfill it and do it. And that is the work you're doing. So I would like to, we'll need to wrap up now, but I want to thank you for joining us. And I want to just, is this, we put this up here. Is this the best organization to donate to? Is this the correct one? Or is there another organization that you would rather?
They, frankly,
let's change it.
They don't do much as they should for elephants.
I found that link inside your website. So let's go ahead and we'll add a link that into the show notes that you can, that people can donate to. And that would be the best thing because obviously the work that you're doing, it costs money to do. You have many people behind you helping and doing God's work to make this possible, but you can always use additional resources.
Also, first of all, you can contact me through email and ask that question, where can I donate and what project, and then I will give you the information. It's Brigitte@kornetzky.ch. You always will find that also on my www.elefanteninnote. That's my organization. And then I will either direct you directly there, which is not that recommendable because it's very, very crazy to donate money from XY people to India right now because of the banking system is really but if you want to try to do so, then go ahead and do it. I will help you. Otherwise, you can donate to Elefanteninnote. That is my organization, and you can be ensured we have no administration, no nothing. We don't do advertising, nothing. I do not even ask for donations on the internet, nothing. I just do my work. That's it. And if you want to donate to that, I can ensure you that the money will go without any subtractions directly to where you wanted to have it. And I can help you where it should go. So right now, I would support WRRC, which is Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation Center in Bangalore. We have 2 elephants there. 3 have been kidnapped. Yes, under horrible conditions. We have still 2, and we are completely quiet on that. So don't put it on the public, but we have them and we take care of them. So an elephant is about 1,400 Swiss francs per month, roughly. So you have that. I want you to help Hati Bondo they also never ask for money. They don't need money, but they still need money to live on something and to do the plantation and everything. So that is Hadibondo. I can get you there. What else do we have? We have Angel Eyes. Yeah, Angel Eyes is one organization which is so I can't even tell what these guys are doing. They're young folks, and they have just planted 12,000 trees in Jaipur, and they keep planting. The head is Abhishek Singh. He's a brother to me, so he's wonderful, and this work is very, very highly recommended to support, because they have all the people on board. Sometimes they just need the money to do the hatchlings and to get the plantation out and all that. And they have fed all the cows in Jaipur during the lockdown. These cows have never seen such green grass during COVID. For them, it was heaven. It was absolutely wonderful. So they all did that, and we also do have bird treatment camps with veterinarians on board in Jaipur. When the kite festival is going on again, so all the birds come into the treatment camp with cut off wings and have cut off wings and this. So we put them all in boxes, we bandage them and do that stuff. So that is Angel Eyes in Jaipur. Highly recommended for any support that you may consider. Anything else? I don't know.
Thank you. We will.
There are more. Yeah.
Let's end by just saying, showing what Amit has just thanked us both, and he says, "Elephant Haven, it will be." So he is obviously one of your people who support this effort and has dedicated his life to that same thing. So very good. Well, thank you for joining the American Gumption show today. I would love to keep in touch with you, and we could have you back in the future, and you can update us on the progress. You have big plans, and I know that this work is something that's in your soul, and you're just continuing to do it. So I want to just say thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me here.
All righty. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Brigitte from Switzerland. My goodness, what a story. You can feel the passion that she has for this. And what we'll do is I will communicate with Brigitte, and maybe we can put together a list of these organizations that she said, and we'll put them in the comments section. And you can help out if in your heart you feel that this is an important thing. I loved what she said about the planting of the trees and creating almost like a border around the forest. The elephants go there, they eat nice food, and then they go back in there. They don't go across the farmers' fields, and everybody is happier. So these are common sense kind of ideas that can be implemented. They're not necessarily expensive in the big picture of things, but of course they do cost money. They probably, more importantly, they just cost the will of people committing to do it. And so because of the work Brigitte's doing and others, we are becoming wiser and smarter about how we can coexist with with the elephant, the largest of all animals. We all love it would be a shame to not have elephants on our planet. All righty. Well, that's it, everybody. Now I'm going to wrap up. I'm just going to tell you that tomorrow, David Strickle, the Stream of David, will join us. On Wednesday, Joseph Labruto, America's most beloved medium. And on Friday, Joan of Angels, Joan Handgarter will come and join us. And so these are all three our other hosts that have shows in the evening on Monday or on Wednesday nights. And so we'll talk about their shows, and we'll talk about the work they're doing. That's it. I will see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us.